All right, so we're back at it with another video, going over a couple of comments that were on the Instagram stories. Does height and weight matter in calisthenics? Now, check this out. I put that post up because I feel as though there are many opinions out there, and some are factual, some are based on anecdotes. And truth be told, a majority of the people said no. Height and weight do not matter in calisthenics. Now, this is interesting because I think that's based on just maybe strength. If you're strong or if you're endurable, if you got the endurance or the durability, or if you're capable of doing calisthenic feats, then it shouldn't matter. You should just probably train your capabilities. Now, I'm going to play the advocate on both sides because that is true. On one hand, training your strength, training your endurance, training your ability to just, go through the motions and fight off fatigue, especially with your own body weight, cancels out the conversation entirely. But on the other end of the token, if you are a person who's 300 pounds and you're at 6'5", it's going to be very different journey of you doing pull-ups and chin-ups and push-ups and squats than somebody who is 5'11" at 165 pounds. That being said, if you are somebody who is 200 pounds and you're 5'1" versus somebody who's very lanky at like 6 feet or at 120, 135 pounds, then that could also be a difference in a lot of, training modalities. I believe what that means is pretty much you have to have experience. And I think experience is the biggest difference key maker. The more time you have in training, the less those variables matter. Because you got people who are 6'3", 200 pounds who can do a lot of incredible feats of strength in calisthenics, who can do weighted calisthenics, human flags, things of that nature. So I believe the answer is both. I think that it matters because the journey is going to automatically look different from two people who are starting from scratch. I also do think that we need to study anthropometry, which is the study of limb lengths. If you are a very lanky individual and you have short tendon connections, short ligaments, then what that means is you're going to have an easier time doing your ranges of motion, so to speak. Anthropometry is the study of limb length, and that will teach you about how the bones connect to the body for your individual needs and cases. If I have a longer range of motion in my descent of a squat and I have to touch a box or a target, then that means someone who is shorter than me is going to get there faster. And that does make a key difference in a few competitions. That also makes a key difference in training. The longer the muscle bellies are, the longer the potential for blood flow to occlude into that area. If you're shorter and you have a shorter muscle belly, that may also just mean that blood flow gets there much quicker. But then again, experience also battles that issue. So it doesn't matter how fast the blood flow travels or the lactic acid travels to the body. If you're someone who is well adapted, then you got this. You can definitely overcome a lot of things. Now, I want to address RiR, which is reps in reserve. This is a method I've been using maybe the last month. And I got to tell you, it's actually been pretty useful in the sense that I know just how calculated my reps are. When it comes to competition, when it comes to just progressing, this is one of those methods that are highly underrated. It's very well slept on because everyone's on Emoms, everyone's on ladders or pyramids, and those are all great things. People are definitely on Emoms tremendously. And I always say when everybody's going one direction, sometimes it's wise to go the other. But this is my own kind of experience. I'm just explaining that reps in reserve are very useful. Now, that being said, reps in reserve is pretty much just taking your set almost to failure. You're going to save yourself 1 rep shy or 2 reps shy of whatever failure is going to be. And the moment you find that number out is the moment you know just how much you're capable of, whether if you were pre-fatigued or not fatigued. And that is why reps in reserve is super, super useful, because there isn't an exact number that's given. You're finding that number on purpose in a dedicated amount of rest time and training time. So if I was to crank out push-ups for reps in reserve, there isn't a number. The idea is the feeling. I'm going to go as far as I can in knowing that I have just only 1 rep left in the tank, or 2 reps or 3 reps. So you approach the set saying reps in reserve for 2. All right, I'm going to save 2 reps in the tank, close to failure. And it's a great way to gain hypertrophy. It's a great way for endurance. And overall, it's just an intellectual approach to getting the right amount of recovery, recharge reps, as I call it in my last videos. All right, and last but not least, muscle up talk. So in this video, you'll actually see me perform muscle ups, just 1 rep. Now, here's the idea with that. I'm a huge fan of training clean reps as much as humanly possible, as much as you can, without the reps getting too ugly. Muscle ups are huge on that, because if you can keep good form while under fatigue, you're a pretty strong individual. You are a pretty technical individual, and you have great awareness. In this workout, if you look at the workout description, I'm doing muscle ups at the end of every single block of training. So this first block, for example, consisted of 2 lower bodies, 2 upper bodies, and I always just do 1 muscle up. Today was weighted muscle ups, 1 rep for 10 pounds. Could I have done more? Yes, but the idea is that this was done throughout the span of the whole workout. So that meant that after that first block of training that I did, I had another block that consisted of more legs. It consisted of Bulgarian Plyo squats. It consisted of shrimp squats. It consisted of burpees. That then means after that block, I did another muscle up. And so I performed muscle ups at the end of every single block of training, every single circuit. And I did about 4 circuits in this session. And the idea was to use lower body as a way to fatigue myself, as well as some upper body. But I wanted to use the lower body to fatigue the upper body, to train everything else while under stress. Now, if there's one thing you've noticed, when you do circuits in this fashion, you tend to get really winded really quickly, especially when you got heavy legs. Now, this is known as peripheral heart rate training, PHP. It's an old school form of training created by Vince Gironda way back in, I think the 80s and 70s. But the point being is, when you have blood flow from the lower body and the upper body happening in sequence, this is what they call it, PHP training. And it does have a nice added benefit of cardiovascular work and strength endurance work, especially when the rest is minimal. This is genuinely one of my best or favorite forms of getting your cardio in, or specific cardio in, for the task at hand. I know a lot of people like to get their reps in miles. They're finding Barbara. There are a lot of great modalities out there. I don't really run. I walk a lot. I walk long distance quite often. I also ruck, but I got a couple of other modalities for my basic aerobic conditioning. I do not do burpees. To be honest, I only added burpees today just because I wanted just to have some variety with my training and a little bit of specificity. And here's the muscle up. I just did that 1 muscle up every single time. Now remember, they were alternating Emoms. So check out the description to know more. Peace.